project is called Memeland, right? We contribute to a token called Meme Coin, right? So by definition, we don't have to do anything, right? So just chilling. I mean,
Best job in the world.
yeah. I mean, literally, the white paper said that this is for entertainment purpose, right? So that's what we did, right? But actually, we also do a lot of stuff. We are launching something called Meme Pay, right? So we want to make sure that you actually can spend your meme coin and stuff like that. Yeah, meme, not just our meme coin, but other meme coins as well. Yeah.
What I've been doing, so we've been working with guild communities and then sending them to games. This started with Axie 4 years ago. This still is true right now. And so we had community market fit from day one. And to scale that, we had to find a product to build on top of that community. So 2 years ago, we started with a questing platform. And what I've been doing the last week is that I've been actually doing the quests in our own platform and kind of nitpicking the UX to our team to make sure that the user experience is better. And that involves like playing with our partner games, getting achievements, and yeah, just making sure that we're dog fooding our product.
Love it, love it. I think some interesting kind of overlap of both of you guys having built ecosystems that have gotten a lot of folks, I would say, into crypto is the way I would say it. Because both of you guys have very different paths. I'll go a little bit off script here. I met Gabby first in Discord. And I think that's kind of the beauty of a lot of the things at this app player, where it didn't matter whether or not I was at Binance Research or Gabby was just a community member. Like, we could just talk about wanting to trade on a piece, right? Like, we're all users at heart. And I think that's why for this panel and some of the conversations, maybe I shouldn't call it a panel. I think the
conversation sounds great.
Yeah, is if you would have this type of conversation with other users within a community, I think that's the beauty of the organicness of what I think both of you guys have worked to build, right? I think over these kind of years, a lot of people always talk about infra, and I actually want to give a shout out LongHash, always I think being willing to bet on a lot of the infra side, and now I think the pendulum has kind of shifted, where to be honest, users don't understand half of the things that we back within the space, right? And it's up to us to actually do a lot of the education side of things. I think that's where Gabby and I first got to see a lot of that. And to be able to do something that I call back in the early days, I think I wrote a blog post about this, what's it called, time on-ramps. I talked to Gabby about this one. The whole play-to-earn concept, I think maybe got misconstrued, because I think even for us at Binance, we didn't understand what the heck is play-to-earn or what are games. We had no real-world experience in that sense. But the kind of goal, I think, from seeing and probably some of the things that I would love to highlight from both of you today, is that if we allow the communities to come in and contribute value, they are the product. And I don't want to say this in a Google, like, draconian control your data way. They are actually the culture. And I think this is something that I'd love to hear a little bit more from Ray, and I'll hand over the mic to you. What do you think, kind of stemming from, obviously, your experience on 9gag and all of the existing user viralities that you've already built before, how does crypto kind of seem to be a little bit different or a little bit the same to you in terms of getting this user buy-in?
Yeah, sure. Some context, right? I actually started a company called 9gag like 16 years ago. It's one of, or the biggest, like, meme sharing platform on earth, right? And we have about 200 million audience across social media platform. I actually met Gabby almost 10 years ago in Jakarta, right? I mean, I met him, I met him before he started crypto.
That's right.
He was making games, right? So I find it very relevant, right, from his experience, also running YGG, right? For us, it's almost the same, because we started building community, sharing memes. It's almost like in the past you share meme for nothing, right? Right now you share memes, actually you make money, right? So somehow I think that kind of like a good showcase of how crypto or tokenization or blockchain can actually unlock the value of a lot of stuff that we do in life. Right? For example, culture is really hard to put a dollar sign on it, but if it is like on chain, maybe it can. Or maybe you don't need to, right? But somehow, for some people, right, it makes sense for them, because not everyone is rich, right? Sometimes you want to exchange your effort, exchange your time to something more valuable, to something that you can trade. Right? I think that's basically all the original use of money, right? So I think that is the interesting part. Why, Gabby work on games, and then we work on like memes, and then right now we work on memes on Web3. He works on like games in Web3, and right now is also on AI and stuff. Right? So I believe that at the end of the day, whether it's like Web 1, Web 2, Web 3, Web 69, right, you need people to use it, right? And we are kind of like working on the people part, and the tech is important, right? But the topic is important. But at the end of the day, it's about the people. Yeah.
I think Gabby, you've been talking about building like Quest. Gabby, I think you've been thinking on the Quest side for a long time and getting users within these games to do the useful actions. And I think that for us, similarly, when we've been thinking as a launchpad, how to get these users to kind of have the buy-in and stick around more than just come farm and play it. I think that's one thing that you've also spoken to me about. So I'd love to hear a little bit more from you on this one.
Yeah, so the first iteration of what YG did was known as the scholarship program, or lending access to people who wanted to farm. And I think that scaled probably a little bit too much, and then it scaled down. But even then, we came upon the concept of questing as a way to kind of align incentives between what our community wanted to do and then what rewards they could get, right? And I think in 2021, DAOs never really got to take off the way they should have, because there was a lot of focus on governance, and that governance was around buying assets and selling assets. But most people just don't want to buy an asset, wait for the price to go up and sell it. Like, what are you going to do in between? And we had a community that wanted to play games first and foremost. So the way we approached community building was very different. Like, you didn't have to be a DAO. A lot of our guilds are maybe like one guild leader, a few officers they promoted, and then the rest are just people that play, and then they earn these rewards, right? But we found that the way like these communities really grew and had strong bonds, because these were like micro guilds, and then they got bigger. Some of them are more organized. Like, they train, they onboard their users, and then we give them kind of the platform to do it via questing. Questing, I would say, has gotten a bad rap in crypto, because there's been like a lot of people who are just questing for farming rewards. And by the way, this isn't a new thing. Like, it's called like incent traffic in Web 2, or the original concept that we had was offer walls, if you're familiar with that, from Web 2 mobile games. So incent traffic has existed for a long time. It makes sense that like the Web3, basic Web3 ad unit is a quest meaning do this, get something. And that something need not be monetary. We issue soulbound token achievements, like proof of reputation that you've done something. You can get an NFT, you can get fungible token, whatever that is, right? And so how, like, we came across questing as the way that we could basically scale communities, because a community itself is, I would say, the most important thing you have in crypto. Like, for us, it was community first, then product, right? But communities are notoriously very hard to scale, and you can't scale it without product. So that's how we came upon questing as a way to nurture and grow the guild communities.
I love that. I guess back to you, Ray, on this, right? I think from the memes world, one of the maybe beautiful things is I think memes often transcend the kind of local barriers that exist. I think we've seen a lot of people post about that Turkish shooter that with the hand in one pocket and he's just chill, right? Like, you don't need to translate chill. Like, everyone gets it. And I think that's one of the things that I'd love to kind of hear. What do you think has been easy to get for the communities that you've been able to work with, both inside crypto and before?
I mean, the good thing about memes is life is generally boring, right? Especially when you are grown up, right? Because I mean, when you are a kid, right, you go to school, all you are worrying about is how to get a girlfriend, how to get rid of your girlfriend, right? But once you have a life, you actually think about, oh, shit, my son has to apply to school, and then how to make ends meet and stuff like that, right? So you can see that how come a lot of people who actually trading cryptos and then sharing memes are actually older guys, right? Because for young kids, I mean, they have their own memes, right? But it's very different from the older guys' meme, right? Because life is different, right? When you grow up, right? So I would say that why all these like memes can transcend like culture, communities, is because people finally find something that they both like, and then you don't have to explain to people, right? Because if you like it, you like it, right? If you know it, you know, right? If you don't know, probably you're too old, right? So I think stuff like this is how to kind of like bind people together. Right? That's also why when you go to like crypto parties, it's almost always like crypto bros and stuff, right? But outsiders think that, hey, these guys are the top signal. But the guys who are in it, for example, like the redacted flight, right? Basically, some crypto projects, they rent a flight, right? The guys who are in it, they actually enjoy it, right? That's what a community is, right? Whether you like it or not, that's how a community is, right? So I think for memes, is a very visualized way for them to share so that it's easier for people to understand. For example, we just met the team behind there's a new meme called Hawk 2 Girl, right? Do you know the meme? Right? We know that we just met the team this afternoon, right? I mean, hey, this is fucking stupid, right? The meme.
What does the team even do?
Yeah, it doesn't do anything, but but for guys, right, who are old enough, right, to have a girlfriend or have a wife, right, or if you're a woman, right, you're old enough to have your partner and stuff, you kind of understand the meaning behind it. And we don't have to talk about it, but you just laugh, right, when you see it. I think that is the amazing part of memes. And at the same time, because when we grow up, we get too serious. Hey, what's the use of it, right? Most of the time, it doesn't do shit. It's fun, right? I think having fun is actually one of the biggest utility, right? What do you do, right, when you watch Netflix, right? Do you want to try to understand the culture or how to learn English, right? That makes the movies boring, right? I think a lot of this kind of stuff is just because we want to have fun, right? Because life is meaningless, right? No, not meaningless, but life is boring if there's without fun. I think meme is just kind of like the common denominator of all this kind of stuff. They make it very visual so that, oh, I don't speak Chinese, I don't speak English, but I understand the meme, I understand the feeling. We feel connected as human being, right? This is like a new kind of language. I think that is why meme is powerful. Right? It doesn't have to be meme, right? But meme is more powerful after social media because it's so easy to create memes. It's so easy to share memes. Yeah, it takes fucking long, right, to even make a good movies, right? So for meme, it's so easy. I think that also because the content creation bar is lower these days, so it makes a lot of like content creators creating memes, creating content. I think that's also why people talk about memes these days. In the past, when we started Nike like 16 years ago, meme is like very insider stuff, right? Right now, even my mom know what meme is, right? A lot of people they call me meme or whatever bullshit, right? So I think those are the things that shows that okay, people love content, right? And this kind of content is like resonate with a lot of people. Yeah.
Yeah, I think especially with this point on like finding a way to connect with folks, right? I think Gabby touched on the paywall side of things, because actually as a high school student, technically not allowed to get paid. Those are like the types of websites that other kids that you find out, oh, you're hustling, you're also trying to make some money, pay for school, whatever it might be, right? You're willing to go to these websites and just do whatever, right? But I think the question is, how do you get people to do higher level actions? And I think as Ray mentioned about the lower barriers to now be a content creator, how do we steer our user bases to actually contribute in a quote unquote higher creativity level, not just a task? Because I think that framing, as you said, has gotten a bad rep for some of these actions. But actually there's some really incredible actions that you can do that bring the user generated content or the kind of personal touch or the creativity that allows for that human bond to the app.
Yeah, this is a really good question. So one of the, I would say, misconceptions about play to earn or what YDG does in general is that we're just paying people to kind of click their mouse inside a game and pay them for playing games. Yes, to some level, you can get paid playing these games, but I would say that the rate is actually low because if you look at paying people to play games, this is called user acquisition, right? And when you look at user acquisition, you have to see your customer acquisition cost versus LTV. So there's only a certain amount of money you can actually pay people for playing a game. What we do is that we drive people towards having skills that are valuable for either building community, growing a game. So these are things like we teach people how to be Discord moderators, for example, how to be content creators. For the ones that are really good, we teach people to go on the esports track and become like elite players. So there's a lot of onboarding and education with what we do at YGG that, like, apart from, okay, I can get paid maybe a small amount playing this game, but I see that I'm good creating UGC, so I can go into a track that creates UGC, and maybe if that's successful, I can get paid for that. So that's what YGG has morphed into, a lot of onboarding, education, finding your skill, and then different tasks that can get you paid in crypto. And a lot of that is actually, like, some of that is making memes as well, because if you make a meme and it catches on, you make your community more popular, that catches more attention, and that attention has value as well.
Yeah, I want to add on, right? I think it's honestly, life is a quest, right? Why do we go to work, right? I think how do we learn all these like difficult skills at work or at school, right? Basically, it's a quest, right?
For some, it's a main quest. For some, it's a side quest.
Exactly, right? I think for some people, they can concurrently do a few quests, right? I think, of course, having a wife and girlfriend, boyfriend is also a quest, right? I mean, unlimited demands, right, from your other half, right? I think also your son or your kid, right? I think life is basically like that. I think on crypto, we make it we tokenize it. We make it easier to track. It's also we don't have to go through all this like middleman, right? So okay, you do this task and you get this, and then somehow it's more, I would say, trusted, right? In that sense, right? And of course, you can do it remotely. You don't have to do it just because you go to that place to work. I think stuff like this is a natural evolvement, natural evolution of how human being lives. For example, our team is like completely remote. How do we make sure that our teammates do the work? Basically, we pay them high. Right? We pay them high salary. That's how they do the work. That's how they continue to learn. Right? I think stuff like this is pretty basic in our daily life. Right now, I think for YGG, for Memeland, or for other projects, basically we try to use incentive on one hand to onboard people, but at the same time, by connecting them together, maybe they can create some new opportunities as well, right? So I would say that it's kind of like meaningless to say, oh, how come all these like farmers, right? They only do farming stuff because you only pay them this amount of money, right? But among all these farmers, maybe some of them they get inspired, and then maybe they do their own projects. Maybe they learn some more difficult or more complicated like blockchain technologies. I think you have to start from somewhere. And I would say that for a project, whether they evolve into something more complicated, I think it's their choice, but you don't need to, right? For example, a lot of this job is still relatively repetitive, but it probably supports a lot of families as well, right? So I think we just have to figure out what's the purpose of the project, what's the purpose of the team, and then we just try, or not try, but like keep building for that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, crypto turns life into a giant MMORPG. I think it was already that way, but now you can see your score, you can see your achievements, you can see your quests. And yeah, it just makes it clear that everyone is living their own RPG.
Except only one life in this game, right? We don't get.
Yeah, it's hardcore mode.
I guess I think we've painted some of the optimistic pictures, I think, as well. I think one of the things that I've been trying to see which types of panels or events can really get folks to be vulnerable. I think both of you guys I've actually seen in different ways share and open up about some sensitive topics as well, right? I think being a founder and kind of going through just every day-to-day thing as well as to the business problems that you guys have both touched on, right? Like, how does some of the personal side of things and your own kind of evolutions into crypto drive some of the human decision makings that you guys do? And I'll give an example. When I was at Binance, this stays inside this room, right? I had a book that I took notes in to say, if I ever build a business, I don't want to do things this way. I had a lot of things in that book, unfortunately. And I think a lot of us have these either proverbial or not, right? In terms of the experiences that we've gone through, the things that have shaped, what we think is worth doing, whether it's for money or not for money. I think a lot of things on the ethos side or the way that we saw opportunity be shared to others within this space, I think do define a lot of our decision making. So the kind of question that I'd like to kind of hear is on the kind of challenges side. Sometimes I think it's easy to say, oh, there's a right answer or a wrong answer. I don't think it actually works that way as a fellow founder as well. I think a lot of times it's like there's a natural default comfort that you will say based on some of the experiences that you've had. Are there any of these that you want to touch on, both yourselves? Maybe Ray first.
Yeah, sure. I share this story publicly. I lost my first son 5 years ago, right? And then I became Christian, right? And And to me, it's pretty straightforward. Right? I think there's like Bible, there's Jesus, right? So it's easy for me to say, okay, this is right or wrong, right? Sometimes I have to pray, right? But most of the time, honestly, in crypto or in daily life, it's very, very straightforward, right? Yeah, I think we don't do stuff that I don't want to tell my son. I think it's very, very straightforward. Right now, I have another son, and then he's like 2 years old. Right? I just imagine, okay, if what I do right now make public, right? Can I tell my son that, okay, this is what I did, right, for a living, right? Will he like it or respect that, right? If he won't respect that, right, then I probably won't do it. I mean, in crypto, I mean, not in crypto, in life, right? There's so many ways to make money, to create impact, right? I think it's more about what you care, right? And to be very frank, right, I came from a humble family, and then but somehow because of NICAD, we make a living, right? I don't have to work for a living. I don't have to work just because I have to make some money, right? But in crypto, in Web3, oh, this is interesting for me. Oh, this is how we can actually make community more powerful, more impactful. Right? That's why I want to work on Web3, launching meme land, helping meme coin and stuff like that. Right? I think that makes it relatively easier for me to say no to a lot of all this like temptation. Right? But at the end of the day, I wouldn't judge whether it's right or wrong. I think people have their own purpose in life. Right? But to me, that's my, I would say that's my ruler, that's my standard. Right? Of course, I'm a sinner, right? So there's a times that I still do make the bad decision and stuff like that. Right? That's why we have to have co-founders. That's why we have to have teams, right? So we have to find people who also share similar like moral standard, right? In that case, oh, whether we want to do it or not, right? And sometimes maybe I got tempted, but my co-founders, my teammates, right? They can be very honest with us. Hey, this is a bad move, right? Then we don't do it. Right? I think that part is how we can kind of like I would say monitor ourselves, a check and balance. Because honestly, human beings are very weak in mind, right? So we need to have a band of brothers, right, to help us to accountable. I think that's how I think about all these so-called like human side of things in crypto and Web3. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, so I think the large internet companies of Web2, whether it's Facebook, Google, etc., they've abstracted away the concept of a user, like you're like one line on Google Analytics or your disposable pair of eyeballs, and a person leaving is just churn, and like you've kind of lost the human element of it. And we do try to bring that back with what we do. The guild communities that we work with are basically a permanent user base. Like people may come, people may go. The guilds are still there, and like I know them. They go to our events. They go, like I see them on the leaderboards. I play against them. They've showed me their kids. Right, I get invited to their weddings. So we don't have the biggest user base, I would say, but we have a user base where we are basically stuck with them permanently as long as we're doing this. And that means that I have to make decisions that I know that I can live with for this user base. And it doesn't always mean making them happy, right? Sometimes you say, okay, I have to cut emissions because it's not sustainable. And like some people will be unhappy. But as long as you can, basically, you know that you are like making decisions for the good of your community as a whole, that's something that you can live with and like try to do as well as you can for long term. Like you're never gonna be able to do it perfectly, but we try our best.
Yeah, I don't have kids, but I have this feeling of some of these early users. I actually got to meet two of our first users from Vietnam and Russia during this conference this time, and it's like, oh, you're not a screen name, you're a real guy. Right?
Yeah, they're actual people, right? Yeah.
And people are actually nicer in person, right? On Discord, on Telegram, douchebag, right? And there's a saying that I have within our team. Oh, blockchain tech is awesome. No, Web3 tech is awesome. Web3 people are awful, right? So, but if you meet them in real life, hey Ray, how are you? How's Neo? Right? Neo is my second son's name, right? They're good people, right? But online, I want to kill them, right? Yeah, and they are so annoying and demanding. When do you launch next stuff? Hey, fuck, we launched something like last week, right? I think stuff like this takes time to build, right? Unless you keep launching like rug pulls. Otherwise, it takes time to build. I think, but at the same time, on one hand, I think we need to do a good job as a founder to continue to stay engaged, right? To show up, right? Because I believe that being present, right, is like 69% of the job, right? So after that, right? You just have to tell them, hey, this is the behavior that we reward, right? That's why, hey, if you show up in person, you're nice, then we're nice to you. If you're douchebagging online, you keep living like a sexist or racist comment, right? Then we don't respond. Right? It's almost like how to train a kid, right? If they keep crying, right, and you fulfill their demand, then of course they are gonna do bad, right? I mean, our policy is very simple. It's kind of like similar to like United States. We don't negotiate with terrorists, right? I think it's kind of like that and how we run a community. And of course, there will be decisions that we make that may not make the community happy. But I think for people who believe in us, who are with us for a longer time, they probably will understand our decision as well, right? So I really believe that you have to build trust, and it takes time to build. So for us, we just try to make sure that the people who trust us the most, right, they will continue to trust us. Meanwhile, for people who are just like speculators and stuff like that, we may not care about them too much, right? But at the end of the day, I think that's how you build community. That's how you build empires, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think on this topic, some of the kind of positive reinforcement behavior learning, as you mentioned, instead of these incentivizing bad behaviors, also applies to the community, also applies to our teams as we scale them. One of the things that I've been really proud of is that actually some of our teammates are actually users that become full-time employees because they love the community so much. I think, Gabby, you've seen a lot of this in the education side of driving these local guilds to teach the next wave, right, and be a part of the family. I'm also curious for you, on Ray, on your side, what have been some of the interesting kind of scaling? As you mentioned, you guys are fully remote. Like, what are some of the coolest additions to the team that you didn't kind of foresee, given that you've scaled 9gag before in a quote-unquote traditional setting?
Yeah, 9gag, our team is based in Hong Kong, right? So before that, basically, most of our teammates are in Hong Kong. Right now in Web3, we actually have teammates all across the world, right? There are some teammates that we hire them before we met them, right? And then in real person, I think, for example, one of the teammates that we hire, right? And then I met him like at Token 249 like last year. And then we stay at the same room, right? Because we want to save some money, right? And then his mom FaceTime me. Oh, thank you, Ray, and please look after my son, right? And then there are also some holders. We have an event called Into the Art, right? Where we work with our community called Art, right? And then one of our holders, he actually brings his mom as his plus one, and his mom bring me like moon cakes and shit, right? So I think stuff like this is how you feel, okay, we actually are building something meaningful, right? Because on one hand, maybe they have some experience so that they can do more interesting thing in their life. But at the same time, I just feel like when you try to do things remotely, maybe it's easier to hire talent, right? To unlock talent, because talent distribution, I believe that it's like all around the world, right? Sometimes maybe you have impacted life that you don't know, right? And those guys, it's actually relatively easier for us to hire them because they've been on our Discord for like a year, right? Oh, I met that guy from another NFT Discord, right? So you actually whether they are douchebag, right? Because when the price is down and then they become like a douchebag. When the price is good, suddenly they become your biggest supporter. Then you know that those guys, you don't want to hire them. It's almost like most people, they meet their girlfriend, their boyfriend, right, as a friend, right, before they actually get together. Of course, these days, because of all these dating apps, it didn't happen, right? That's also one of the reasons why the divorce rate is so high, right? Because you actually don't know the person, right, a long time way back, right? So I think on Web3, because we actually see the person, because we see the founders, we see the team, maybe it's actually easier for us to hire, right? But at the same time, we would love to put a face on the person, right? At least do the interview. Please open the camera, right? Please turn on the camera, right? Because we don't want to get hacked and then blame it on North Korea. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's actually happened to us as well, where we've hired community members. For example, one of them, we met them at playing League of Kingdoms, which is a strategy game. We hired them to be a community manager, and we've been working remotely for 3 years. And then 2 weeks ago in KBW, he happened to be vacationing with his mom. At the same time, we had an esports event in Seoul, and so he brought his mom to the event because he couldn't explain to his mom what his job was. Right, and it's so he came there. His mom was there, and it's like, oh, here is what my company does. Here's what YGG does, and we see a lot of that with our hiring, with our community. We hire a lot of people that would probably not get hired at a typical like Silicon Valley startup where they focus on what school did you graduate from, what networks are you from. Honestly, I think a lot of that is bullshit. Like we've hired a lot of people who probably like can't get out of the Philippines because they don't have proper ID. They probably don't even have a bank account, and they don't come from the top schools. But you've seen that they're able to build within the community. And now with our questing platform, they can actually prove that like they have valuable skills. They're doing AI labeling, they're good at strategy games, they're doing esports. So it's good to be able to have a platform where these people can contribute and be recognized for it, even if the traditional channels won't do it.
Yeah, I love that. Is that a signal that we have to cut it? But I think in general, there's a lot of stuff that I think I want to unpack on both of these answers, because I think for a lot of founders, I think one of the hardest parts is how to keep that community to be pure like this, right? I share with our own team. One of the teams that we invested in, actually, one of the players made enough on the more esports side of gaming where he's bought a house for his parents. And he sent this photo back to our Discord, and we're like, holy cow, we touched someone's life for once, right? And I think those kind of constant reminders really make it a lot more human on the side of things, right, as we've all mentioned here. I think there's still, a lot more stuff that other folks are going to be covering soon. So I do want to maybe leave with one last prediction from both of you in terms of how do we get, one more magnitude of folks to be excited about all the things that we do, and so that future moms know what we're doing, right? When I joined Binance, I think we had a metric of there was maybe only 60 million people in the world that knew about, like had really touched crypto in some way. So that was less than 1% of the world's population. I think we're already much further than that over these years. But the question is, what is going to be those things that you guys see, or that you can maybe control or do yourselves that drive that adoption as well?
Yeah, I want to add on something about what you just said before answering your questions, right? I actually don't think that we need to keep the community pure, right? Because when you look at how community builds, actually there's a natural churn rate, right? So people come, people go, right? Because your life has changed, right? Oh, in the past you are like a full-time degen. Right now you finally get a girlfriend, right? That's why you don't spend that much time online trading shitcoin and NFTs. It's fine, right? It's okay that you leave, right? But as a project, as a team, we may not be able to keep them quote unquote pure. I think what we have to do is actually, hey, we tell them what we are building. If you like our mission, join us. If you think that our mission is like kind of like obsolete or outdated, right, then you can leave. I think this is a good thing about how we build communities, right? So I think that the challenge is how can we tell more people what we are building, right? Because okay, you can continue to build some cool shit, but no one knows it, then basically you suck, right? Because I think this is also an experience that I learned as a founder. As a first-time founder, they always talk about product, right? Second-time founder, they actually talk about distribution. Because you can become a big company, right? Even if you build shitty products, but if you have a good distribution, right? Most of the good apps that you use today, the first version is pretty shit, right? But they figure out how to distribute the product. A lot of these games, right? For example, like Telegram games, a lot of them are pretty shitty, right? But they have good distribution. Right, so I think that part is almost about like different stages of like experience, and then you may have like different thoughts, and we may have like different thoughts, right? I think that's echoing what you just shared about building communities. And then for prediction, I actually don't know, right? I actually believe that blockchain is pretty cool, right? I have been running company for some time. When we have to send wire transfer, right, via a bank, it takes like 2 to 3 days, right? And you have to fill in so much information. And then right now with crypto, right, just get an address, and then you can send it, and then they can get it in like, I don't know, 3 seconds, right? Depending whether the gas fee is high and stuff. I think that is like game changing, right? And that's why I believe that blockchain is here to change the world, right? And how can we leverage that technology? I think it depends on the project, depending on the narrative, right? So I don't have to predict what's the future is like. But I think for us is, as a team with like a pretty deep like Web2 background, building community and stuff, how can we actually dumb down all this like cool stuff that crypto or Web3 has, and then tell people, hey, this is cool, this is how you should use it, right? I mean, all this like crypto, Web3, all this jargon that you have to learn, all this like DeFi is so complicated, like you and shit, right? I think you always can only attract a small group of people, right? But for like a bigger crypto, a bigger crowd, kind of like the topic, like mass adoption, right? You probably need to make it fun, probably need to make it like easy for them to use. I don't support the slogan that, oh, we have to onboard the next billion people to Web3. That's totally bullshit, right? We actually have to bring Web3 to billions of people. I think this, I would say, slight difference in mindset. Maybe that makes the difference. Why we are building the application and stuff. Meanwhile, a lot of people are building infrastructure. It's almost like, oh, you keep building roads, but no one use your road, right? Because there's nothing to see at the end of the road, right? And I think meanwhile, maybe we can just continue to pick a category that we are good at, right? We prove ourselves that, oh, we know how to build it in Web 2, right? Right now, after understanding Web 3, then we build it in a Web 3 way, right? But we also target the Web 2 audience as well. Maybe that's how we can finally make like a crypto or Web3 become like a mass adoption. Yeah.
So my spicy take is that there's a difference between financialization and ownership, and crypto focuses too much on financialization to the point where it kind of cannibalizes itself and kind of hinders itself from reaching actually a lot more possible users. Because if you look at what's happening on, maybe it could be meme trading or fantasy top, like, it reaches the crypto native crowd that loves speculation. But I don't think that speculation or even trading on exchanges is what's gonna let us reach 1 billion users. However, people care about digital ownership, right? I do adhere to what Yat says about crypto being digital property rights. Not only do I own my data, maybe it's my game assets, my user reputation, and that I can see billion people like caring about more than, oh, can I put like the deed of my house as an NFT so that I can borrow Ethereum on it, and if the price goes down, then I can have my house liquidated, right? So there's a lot of focus on the DeFi building blocks, and they are important. But again, I think that ownership matters a lot more than like pure speculation or financialization.
Agree on both of that. I think the distribution point that Ray mentioned, I think as a first-time founder, that is my mistake and why I'm still on this panel 3.5 years ago, because I still need to get this story out to more future builders, right? I think that's something that, to do a small plug, we're actually hosting a Telegram mini apps event tonight after the ARC event, which both Gabby and I are in as well. I think one of the hard parts is to realize that sometimes the right microphone gives you a lot more voice in whatever you build. It may not be your best product, but if no one hears about it, did it really exist, right? And I think on Gabby, your point on the financialization side, I just found out earlier this week that actually my Telegram username can actually be tokenized as an NFT, so I can actually even just give up my identity on chain. And there's a lot of interesting pieces to kind of how we see or play the game, and I think the interesting thing is that there is always something for everyone. I think Ray hit it on the nail of communities need to have the ability to accept that people aren't forever. If a community has no doors, it's just a jail. It's actually not a place that you want to spend time in. And I think a lot of the things that we need to build, we need to figure out how to not build jails, but rather build places that we'd be happy to grab the microphone and maybe eat some chilies and share our thoughts with our friends, right? So I think a lot of really interesting ground from two unique perspectives within the space today. Just want to give a final round of applause to both Gabby and
Does that mean we don't need to eat the chili?
I'll spare you guys.
Thank you.
Thank
Really
you.
great answers. Thank you.